Hello, 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 and happy Wednesday. I hope you're having an amazing start to your day, wherever you are in your day. Technically, it's not the start, it's the middle. I hope it's been a great day. I'm excited because I am going live today with my friend Jessica. And Jessica is an incredible postpartum PT. She's just joining in now. And so I'd love for her to actually introduce herself. I'm going to add her into the chat. But today we are going to be discussing tuning into
your power. We'll specifically be talking to women, but this is a conversation that will be beneficial for everyone. Hello.
Hi, hello. Let me just adjust and then we'll be good. Yay, cool. How are you, Leah?
I'm so good. It's been a little while since we've chatted.
I know. I'm like, I've known you for a while. It's just I feel like our paths just keep crossing. You know what I mean? Like it's just like divine intervention.
There's something like over the last 2 weeks, there's been things coming up over and over and over again from the Clubhouse days, which is where you and I originally connected.
Yes, yes. And I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. Like, do people still use that?
I think that they do, but it's
Yeah,
definitely not the same.
yeah,
It's definitely
definitely.
not the same as the COVID days where
Yeah.
I feel like all we would do is just spend our
Whole
extra time
day.
on Clubhouse. Yeah,
It was so cool. But now we're back to lives and that's fun too.
we are. I love it. Well, I'm stoked to be here with you today. And just love how we both are in the work with women and just one of the things that we're going to bring forward today and talk about today that we both have this thread in common is helping women really reconnect to their bodies, right? Tune into the wisdom of their bodies, use their voice, find their voice, speak their voice,
Yeah.
and allowing that to be the bridge so that they can experience more thriving in their life, right? Like their physical health, their mental health, their emotional well-being, the life around them, whether that's their relationships with their families, their kids, their partners. And so stoked to dive into this conversation with you. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, totally. My name is Jessica London. So I'm doctor of physical therapy, but I also specialize in pelvic floor therapy, pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond, strength training. So I just, first of all, love the work that you're doing because I think it's so needed in the world of women in general now really stepping into their power and
Mm.
stepping into their truth and finding their voice again. And it really does beautifully show up. I think if it hasn't showed up for women sooner, we're also noticing all those similarities now in this really intimate space of pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond too. So really what we do is majority of what we do is we focus on more of the physical, the musculoskeletal healing, the
Mhm.
birth prep, the recovery, but it's also so much more than that too. It is helping women find their voice in their pregnancy and their birth choices and being able to confidently share those with their providers and
Mhm.
really learning and coming in tune with their intuition as they are about to create life and are creating life, and then also translating that into their mother's intuition too. And so really supporting that entire identity of someone going from womanhood to motherhood, mostly specializing in pelvic floor musculoskeletal health, but it's so hard not to touch into all those other topics like you mentioned.
Well, I mean, you think about the womb and
Yeah.
the pelvic floor in general, and there's so many things that tie into it. It's not just a physical place.
Mhm.
There's just an energetic creation that happens in the space. I always say to women, it's it is literally where the physical 3D reality meets God, spirit, the universe, source, whatever it is that you want to call it and you
Yeah.
believe in. It's where
Hmm.
the two come together. And
Yes.
then women move forwards and they forget how powerful they are, that they can literally create literally anything,
Yeah.
including a living, breathing human being. And yeah, I love this. I actually recently was having a conversation on my podcast with Nathan Riley,
Oh yeah,
and
he's awesome. OB. He's
he's
a great OB.
I
Yeah.
love him so much.
Yeah.
And we were talking specifically about how if women do not have the ability to tune into their bodies, to find their voice, to step into that power and express themselves and speak their truth
Mhm.
before they have a child and before they get pregnant, how in the world do you expect that all of a sudden a
Yeah.
woman is just going to step forward and be and vouch for herself and vouch for her child?
Yeah.
And you know I just from the work that I do, I know that this goes super deep. This isn't just our lifetime. This
Yeah.
is multiple lifetimes. This is the patriarchy. This is society. This is oftentimes like women being muted, women like being told not to tune into their intuition. You think about like the days of the witch trials and how,
I was
you
just
know,
thinking that.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, and we've literally as women been trained not to listen to our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a world where we're dominated by the masculine energy of doing all of the time, where we don't even slow down to like tune in, to listen to what's going on. And that oftentimes leads us to neglect ourselves, neglect our bodies, neglect our needs. And I'm sure that that corresponds into a lot of what you see in your practice.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that a lot of women are coming to you obviously with like pelvic floor dysfunction and pain, maybe through pregnancy, pre-pregnancy, through sexual intercourse. And I'm curious, like, what are some of the big like challenges that you see women facing, not just on the physical level, but maybe on like a deeper mental, emotional
Yeah.
level?
I think you kind of hit it on the head. Is like if they're not doing that work before they have had a child, then it just sort of snowballs. And then there's this huge identity shift and identity crisis, if you will, because now you also have a child to take care of. And you already are so distrusting with your own inner wisdom and your inner self. So, what the patterns that I tend to see is that we end up having moms feeling very, violated in their birth experiences. They're feeling like their voices are not being heard, but they yet at the same time don't really understand and know how to communicate that decision, that desire, whatever it might be. This is also a time where sometimes I think women find their voice. Now they all of a sudden care about their preferences and what they want because they're carrying a child. So I often think it's like a beautiful dyad because we either have women who are just going through the motions, they end up get pregnant, and then they go into postpartum and they still lack that self-trust, that self-trust within their self, their intuition. And it can spiral women and moms specifically because they end up listening to all the noise around them of what they should do, how they should care for their baby, but they're not really just coming into themselves and trusting. But then the opposite side, there's women like taking their power back for the very first time ever in pregnancy, and that's when they're starting to develop their inner trust, their inner voice, their wisdom. And then the birth portal, of course, is like the most transformative experience where you have to just trust the body to know what it's going to do and what's physiologically normal, but then also trusting if there's interventions that need to be made. How does that feel in my body? How do I speak up with these providers and trust them as well? So I think it is everything, right? It is really about making sure that women can continue to come inward and trust themselves. And that's kind of what I see over the process. Women not speaking up for themselves, dealing with leakage or pain with intimacy, pelvic organ prolapse for years because they've been suppressed by the standard healthcare system to just accept it as their new normal, or like that's just normal, even though that they know that's not normal. You know, like I think that's what I find the biggest in my specific world. Yeah.
What do you say to the women that come to you and they are muted, they are staying quiet, they're not actually using their voice and like vouching for themselves, like they may intuitively know that there's something off with their body, but they're not actually like saying something about it or seeking the help? Like what do you say to these women?
Yeah. I think by the time that women end up getting to work with us, they found their inner voice and they found that inner wisdom to at least take action, inspired action, to know I'm putting my foot down. I'm not going to deal with these issues any longer. Everyone else has told me that this is normal and it doesn't feel normal. And now I'm ready to make a change. So I often find that when we end up working with women one-on-one, they already have that inherently there. But a lot of what I do in marketing, if you will, or speaking to women before they come to me is trying to help them find that voice too. So, really what I tell women is like, these coaching, that's why coaching and therapy is so different, right? When you coach, you're asking open-ended questions. So oftentimes when I get on inquiry calls with moms that are considering maybe tackling the leakage or pain or pelvic heaviness, I ask a lot of open-ended questions of like, well, what do you think this is normal? What does this feel good to you in your body? Is this something that you want to live with? What do you think is wrong? Right? Like that's a really powerful question that I think a lot of times women have, learned to say, well, I don't know, you're the expert, you tell me. But I'm like, yeah, well, you tell me actually, because you actually have the answers inside of you.
Mhm.
And so just really calling them and not challenging, because I don't like that, but inviting them to kind of go inward. And oftentimes on these inquiry calls that we have with moms, they get asked really deep questions that they maybe never thought of before. And I hope that gives them a taste of what it's like to work with us, but also a taste of what it looks like to trust themselves and answer those deeper questions too.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And you made the comment like we already have all of the wisdom within
Mhm.
us. Like we already know.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer that because we are moving so fast in society, because we don't actually slow down, we don't actually feel into our bodies, we're not feeling into our emotions, we're not tuning into the pain,
Mhm.
that we actually like put up a wall and therefore almost avoid it and ignore it.
Mhm.
And when we do that, we don't actually get to listen to what is happening within us. And the things happening within us, it is the wisdom that we carry. Like women are have so much wisdom in their bodies
Wow.
that when they ignore it, then I see that in my work, like preventing them from being able to experience pleasure
Yeah.
in every single aspect, like
Mhm.
not just sexual pleasure,
Yeah.
right? But pleasure with yourself, like
Mhm.
loving yourself,
Mhm.
honoring yourself, like creating a life that you really love, that lights you up, like using your voice, setting
Yeah.
boundaries, right? Like all of these go into being able to tune into your body
Mhm.
and tune into yourself and tune
Mhm.
into your own wisdom. And
Mhm.
like, like one of the things I love that we both do is like we ultimately just empower women to to come
Yes.
home to themselves and really find themselves,
Yes.
right? It's like,
Mhm.
and for me, and I'll speak for myself. Like, there's something so beautiful in that moment when a woman just realizes, you're like, holy crap, like
Yeah.
I I am powerful. Like I've
Yeah.
got this. Like
Yeah.
I can support myself and I can vouch for myself.
100%. I mean, it's awareness, right?
Hmm.
That first stage is awareness. And so sometimes as we are living in autopilot, going so fast, as you've mentioned, all these things just get suppressed. And as we suppress them, we lose the intuition, we lose the touch within our own body. And when we lose the touch within our own body, we end up like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I'm like, girlfriend, you pee your pants. Like,
Hmm.
you're wearing pads like every single day, and that's somehow okay with you. But when you ask those deeper level questions, they're like, I'm not okay with that. And I'm like, yeah, so what next? They're
Hmm.
like, I want to make a change. And the thing is like, that's such a beautiful transformation for somebody to go through, no matter if it's, musculoskeletal or boundary, like you've talked about with a spouse or a partner. Those are other things too, is being the good girl, just being quiet and not saying what you need because you fear what other people think, and you're not actually expressing your desires and your needs and your changes or whatever they may be. We notice this show up a lot with moms kind of putting themselves on the back burner for children, but also when they potentially look into getting support for themselves and they are ready, they're fired up, they're empowered, and then they have to have that conversation with a partner or a spouse, especially if there's a financial investment. Then it's like there's like a disconnect of conversation too. And sometimes it's so sad because we can see that masculine come down and make that decision for them when intuitively they know what they need to do, but then they don't know how to communicate it
Yeah.
effectively. And I'm not sure if you want to speak on that. I'm sure that you would like speak on that so beautifully as like having help, like how do women like help? How do you help women like really just honor themselves and advocate for themselves too on their deepest desires too?
Yeah, totally. I think you hit a lot of nails on the head there, and you don't just find your voice overnight. There can
Yeah.
be a catalyst sometimes for you to be like, "Oh my God, I am done with this pattern. Like I am
Mhm.
done being silenced. I'm done being the good girl. I want to stand up and speak for myself," right? Like there can be that like event that can catalyze you into that. But chances are it's a series of events, right?
Mhm.
It's you allowing yourself to be silenced, you allowing yourself to give away your power to
Mhm.
someone else, you allowing yourself to continue to people please over and over and over again
Mhm.
to the point where all of a sudden you realize, like, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
I'm not healthy. I'm not where I want to be. I don't have the things I desire, right? Like,
Mhm.
my life is not what I enjoy and what I want it to be.
Mhm.
And I think a big part is you mentioned like the awareness, right? Is first being able to build the awareness of where are you not happy?
Mhm.
Like where do things
Mhm.
not feel good for you in your life? And
Mhm.
then going on a deeper level here is recognizing what role have you played and actually not allowing yourself to have the things that you deeply desire.
Ownership,
Ownership,
right? Like
exactly.
after you have awareness, you have to take ownership for sure. I think people try to like pass off, oh, well, he made me this way or she made me this way or they had, right? But if you're not willing to take ownership, then you're disassociating that the fact that you have a choice. And so I think that we end up on autopilot, not aware, because these are subconscious patterns and subconscious beliefs or subconscious, actions that we're taking. But then, like you're mentioning, is like then saying like I'm taking ownership. This is a conscious choice for me now to be happy and to listen to what my body wants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
completely. It's like without that level of ownership, you can't actually create a change, right? It's that
Mm-hmm.
ownership that allows you to create something different in your life, to experience something different in your life. And someone, your partner, your sibling, your mother, your friend, people can do anything to you.
Mm-hmm.
However, you play a role in what you allow them to do
Yeah.
towards you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
if you're keeping yourself in that situation, you are continuing to allow yourself to receive that which they are emitting, giving to you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a 50-50 role here, right?
Yeah.
You play as much of a role in the relationship and the experience as somebody else in the relationship or the dynamic does as well. And so that moment that you can take ownership, you can start to recognize and step into something different.
Mm-hmm.
And another area that I see as well, like with women, is like practicing saying yes,
Yeah.
practicing saying no, and being in spaces with other women who actually can see you, hear you, and support you.
Mm-hmm.
Because when women come together and they realize, oh my God, this is what it feels like for another woman to see me, this is what it
Yeah.
feels like for another woman to like hear me and to hold me and to support me, to receive
Mm-hmm.
me, to accept
Mm-hmm.
me, it
Mm-hmm.
creates this like realization in them where it's like, oh my God, this is what I can have. And then they
Yeah.
start to look at other places in their life and they're like, oh, I'm not allowing myself to have that here.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, like, being able to realize what's possible by being in a community with other women who are conscious, who are aware, who are looking deeper into themselves and continuing to, I like to say, like, bring themselves and every other woman around them higher,
Yes.
right? Because
Yeah.
when we're in relationships with judgment and jealousy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
ultimately we're in relationships with people that aren't bringing us higher. We're in relationships with people that usually that judgment and jealousy, when it comes up, it's choosing to not look at yourself and taking that ownership, and therefore translates into the jealousy and the judgment.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Yeah.
in those spaces where you're able to connect with other women like that, and now you can start to use your voice and get to know what it's like for your voice to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
I love doing exercises too, like vocalization
Yeah.
and toning, and like actually allowing women to like hear the sounds of themselves.
Without being afraid or feeling
Mm-hmm.
judgment or like it really is like I feel like more of the allowing yourself to come more into that feminine too is
Mm-hmm.
also allowing yourself to be softened and vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that because women for so long were suppressed, they felt like they could not express themselves and they've lost that voice, right? And so oftentimes it's the vulnerability that I think that they find judgment or fear in that prevents them from taking that radical responsibility over their choice and their life again on what makes them happy. I love that you do experiences like that because I often feel like, especially like when you embody that like the somatics of all of it, you sometimes don't realize what's been trapped and suppressed the whole time until you start to do these exercises of like vocalization and all of that.
Yeah.
And when you said like low tones and like vocalization, I'm like, oh my gosh, pelvic floor, birth,
Yeah.
intimacy, sex, right? All
Uh-huh.
the things. Because it's like that, we are meant to vocalize in all of those areas. And when you keep that, that's you suppressing yourself even further, not allowing yourself to be seen.
Yeah, one of my favorite things, it's natural for me, like wherever I am, doesn't matter where I
Yeah.
am, I love just to like heavy sighs. Like I'll breathe in and I'll like vocalize and just like heavy sigh. Like I'll be in the grocery store and people like look at me and they're like are you good? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm really good. Are you good though?
Are you good? Because you want to try with me? Let's hold hands.
Right, but it is really wild, and this is not just for women. Like men experience this too,
Yeah.
right? This holding back of expression, this holding back of sound,
Mm-hmm.
and in reality, like you think about what is the natural communication of our bodies? It's frequencies, it's
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah. That's so weird you said that. I was just thinking about authentic frequency.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's sound is
Yeah.
frequency.
Yes. Yeah.
And that is the natural communication network of our bodies. And so when we're actually not communicating with sound and allowing ourselves to make noise and to tap into these frequencies, we're ignoring our body's innate communication network.
Yeah. Yep. We totally are. Really, it's like I guess go back to like the somatics is like until you experience something like that, you sometimes don't even realize like how much you've suppressed. Um, I guess I'm curious, like, what would be something that like women and moms can do, like, to start that process? You talked really beautifully about like practice over time, right?
Yeah.
And I even think about like, go if you're feeling nervous, like go in your closet, shut the door, and then just like let it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Doing it in a car as well,
Yeah.
like getting in a car and just allowing yourself to scream, to make noise, like whatever wants to come out of you.
Mhm.
But in regards to like you're using your voice and finding your voice, I feel like there's so many ways that can be done. And kind of building on what we've been talking about with tones, we have all these chakras in our body, right? And what's beautiful is like each chakra holds a different tone, right? The pelvic floor is going to be the lowest, the deepest tones, right? And your
Yeah.
crown chakra is going to be like your highest
Mhm.
tones. And something that you can do is you can start to drop into your body, and you can start to like try to find the sound that almost makes these different parts of your body vibrate. So if we're talking about the pelvic floor, can you find a sound and a tone that actually makes you feel stimulated in your pelvic floor, that makes you feel more of your pelvic floor? And then shifting slowly up the body, like finding the next tone up. Can you find the tone that then leads you to feel more in your lower belly, to feel more in like your intestines, right? And your lower abdominals, and continuing to come up, right? The solar plexus, the heart chakra, the throat chakra. And you will find that as you increase these tones, you start to feel these areas of your body differently, more. Right. And so in regards to like using and vocalizing sound, that's one way. I always recommend like going and finding like a song circle or a singing group or some type of like vocal community where it is welcomed to use your voice. Actually, last night I had a song circle in my home.
Cool.
And it was so fun. At one point, we're just like, well, I'm harmonizing and making sounds and noise. And I was like, okay, and make the silliest and most ridiculous sound you've made all day long. And it totally got people off guard, but it was so fun. Like, and people just like got to fully express and like lean into it. And so that's some things you can do with the tones. You can hum, you can sing in the shower, in your car, like let yourself be free and express. When it comes to another person, you were talking earlier about like the connections, right? And we were talking about like friendships, intimacy, dynamics. Something that can be really, really powerful in communication and in conversation is when somebody speaks to you or says something to you, reflecting back, like, what did you hear? Like almost repeating back, what is it that you heard from them? Because not only does that allow them to feel more heard and seen, but it creates a deeper sense of connection between the two of you. And vice versa, right? When they repeat back what they heard from you, it allows you to feel more seen and more heard. And so now you can kind of take this concept of like the toning and the sounds and bring it more into actual communication and conversation. And I think that this is a really beautiful way to really start to lean into how you speak your truth, how to use your voice, how to honor your yes and your no. I do a lot of activities with women in my group programs where like they get to make requests, and they get to say yes, and they get to say no, and they get to feel what that feels like in their body, right? And you know, you're talking a lot about the somatics of it, right? Like somatics is really like to feel and to sense into your body, to process any emotions or any experiences for greater optimal health, right? And you know, this is such an important part of somatics, is like vocals and tones and sounds.
Yeah.
because our bodies store and hold so much. And I'm sure that you see this in the pelvic
Mhm.
floor all the
Oh,
time, like
definitely. Yeah.
leakage and holding and
Yeah.
tension. It's like
Yeah.
when people don't allow their emotions and their stress and their tension, when they don't allow it to go anywhere and they just hold it,
Yep.
trauma as well,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
it creates dysfunction in the human body.
Yes.
And so when you can allow it to move through movement, through sound, through vocalization, through whatever it is that shaking, like whatever comes through for you, so important. And that is also kind of coming back to what we were talking about earlier, like
Yeah.
that is how you tune into the wisdom of your body, is you
Mhm.
feel into it and you allow it to move.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so beautiful too. I mean, I just like I'm making so many connections too, obviously, to the work that we do and to the work that you do. It's like they're so complementary in so many ways too. And really, as women become more in tune with their body, they just release a lot of that stress and trauma and emotion that's trapped, that's often causing a lot of the havoc that we're sort of trying to unravel. And so, a lot of times I think that, the traditional healthcare system misses this piece, or just society in general doesn't allow people to go deeper into this. And so they might miss that inner wisdom because they're not willing to go deeper. But when they do, like I think of chronic pain, right? Like chronic pain, chronic tension. It's like the body, it doesn't want to hold on to that tension for you. Like something needs to be released. Like the body is like, that's a red flag. That's the body's response to holding all of the stuff down, garbage that you've been getting it, without the body being able to fully and playfully and fully release. And so the body can only take so much of you just not having that inner voice, stuffing those emotions down, stuffing that trauma down without really letting it go and releasing it, until it turns into chronic pain, pelvic floor dysfunction, pelvic pain, pain with intimacy. Like a lot of these things that we're dealing with, yes, they can be induced by trauma and injury, but we've also worked with tons of clients that have had this for 10, 15, 20 years and it's unexplained, or they have a life-altering event like a birth event or like a trauma, but then it was cascaded by stress and by cascaded by them not using their voice and not feeling fully free, that it's just suppressed into so much more than it really even needed to be, but it just sort of like cascaded into this like big pelvic floor issue that really is an underlying root issue of holding too much trauma, stress, emotion, just continuing to stuff it down.
Yeah. And like you're saying, it's like the more you stuff it down, the more it comes out in symptoms.
Yes.
Right? Unexplained symptoms.
Unexplained. Yeah, these are like the red flags. They're like, your body just doesn't just do this. Like it's trying to tell you. This is like the body communicating to you. Like as soon as you have that symptom, it's like the body is now trying to communicate to you, say like, ding, 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 the car alarm is on. Like we need some support here. We can't tolerate this any further. So yeah, I'm with you for sure.
I always say that your symptoms are messages from your body to your body asking for more love and attention.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
It's when we stop listening that the problems start to arise. When we stop doing something about it, it's when problems start to arise.
Yeah.
For me, like I have like a weekend requirement. Like I have to dance once a week. I have to go to an actual dance container and move my body, because it's how I move things through. It's how I process. You think about ancient tribes. What did they do? They danced all the fucking time. All the time.
Yeah, it was so ingrained in cultures around the fire pit and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And they sang and they chanted.
Yeah. They vocalized a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
And we stop doing these things. Even you look at animals. Animals shake all the time. All the time.
Yeah. Think about our little like children, right? Like I have 2 kiddos, so I'm thinking like, we're so mindful too of like if they're crying, like not being like stop crying, like no, like freaking let it out. Like if you need to cry, let it out. Like I don't want that emotion trapped inside of you too. But like that's where like these patterns can develop so early on. If you're trapping that so early on, it just builds and builds and builds and builds, and then one day you're like, where's my voice? What do I like? What makes me happy? I don't know, because I've just been like programmed my whole life to not address my needs, my desires, my deepest wishes, or my intuition, to trust that too. And then also like, I mean, talking about intuition and embodiment and all of that too, is I've experienced in my life, and other women that we work with too, is like the more that you listen to the callings of your heart and that intuition, the stronger it gets. But if you get the intuitive calling and then you're like fear, judgment, like, and you just kind of put it to the side, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, that's when like all this stuff really builds up too. And you're not going to develop your intuitive sense either, or deeper inner wisdom, unless you do listen and then respond to those two.
Absolutely. And, I think an important thing to note here is you're human, right?
Yeah.
And so like the fear and the judgments and the criticism and all these things are going to come up. It's a matter of whether you actually allow yourself to identify with that voice, or whether you recognize that that voice is just there to try to keep you safe, and then create or make the choice to either listen to that voice and hold yourself back and not lean into the thing that you're getting, the whispers that you want and desire or need, or if you actually listen to your higher self, listen to like your true north, right? And actually lean in and say, no, I recognize that that's a voice. I recognize that that voice is coming up to keep me safe. I recognize that's not me, and that's actually not going to support me in leaning into my desires, to having my pleasures, to getting the help and the support that I need. And like you said, it's just like a muscle. The more you use it, the better you get at it, right? And so, for women, it's everyone, and specifically for women, because we are emotional feelers. Like we are very emotional beings, and that is what makes us so magical. For so many women, there's a very common belief that your emotions are too much, right? And that your emotions are going to lead you to be rejected, not accepted, not liked. And in reality, your emotions are what make you so magical, because your emotions carry all that wisdom. Right?
And it's trusting that too, because maybe their real life, they did have people around them that did suppress them and not allow them to experience that. So they feel like this is my real life, but really that's like you mentioned earlier, you are in charge and responsible for what is reflected to you and what you reflect out to other people. So it is a conscious choice to continue to believe that narrative and that story, even though it no longer currently exists too, and you can't make that choice.
Totally. And we're talking about this on more of like the emotional and like mental point of view, with the kind of like the physical tied in. But I also think that another really great way to look at this, and great example, like, so I started today my first day of a 10-day detox. And it's actually really cool because it's the first time in my life where I'm opting into this detox, not because I need to and because my body needs it to heal, but actually because it's what's going to help me get to the next level. It's going to optimize how I'm feeling. And the intention is to meet my physical body, which does take longer to evolve, with the mental, emotional, energetic bodies, which I've been doing a lot of work around lately. And, a beautiful way to see this here as well is like, our bodies build up so much, so many toxins, so many chemicals, so many waste products, so many parasites, so many heavy metals, right? All of these things build up in our body and actually lead to symptomology, lead to hormone dysregulation, lead to GI dysregulation, right? Lead to emotional dysregulation. And because of the economy, the society, the world that we live in, it's the truth that we cannot keep up with our bodies to keep them in optimal health the way that everyday society lives, right? With the food that we have, the water that we drink. And so this is where it becomes really important to opt into detoxes, to opt into cleanses, to opt into doing healthy things for your body so that you can sweat out the toxins, so that you can allow your organs to function better, so that you can regulate your hormones. And, just kind of going back into what we were talking about earlier, that when you don't allow yourself to move the things that are being inputted into your body, it leads to all the symptoms, it leads to all the stress, it leads to all the chronic issues. And on a physical level, you can look at it in this way as well. It's like, in order to keep your body healthy, it's important to eliminate these toxins, to eliminate the chemicals, to eliminate the things that are building up in your system that are creating this like fog, right, within your body per se, that are preventing your body from being able to function and see clearly, to function optimally.
Yeah, obviously shedding of all of the extra in the body is going to promote you from feeling more of that clarity, that cleaner, cleaner clarity and belief systems and all of that too. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And so I'd love to kind of like bring in the little sprinkle on like feminine power here, because I think that this is such an important piece. And what I see is that when women can come home to themselves, when they can start to tune into their body, when they can start to slow down, when they can start to find their voice, when they can start to use their voice, when they can start to honor their worth and really like step into their confidence because they know who they are and they
Yeah.
know that no matter what, they've got themselves and they're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
It leads them to step into this place of personal power.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me in my work, I see that when women step into this power, they get to create the lives that they desire, right? Like as within, so without. What happens within
Mm-hmm.
your body is going to be reflected in the world around you, in your career, in your relationships, in your life, in your family, right? All of the above.
Mm-hmm.
And what I see is that when women step into this power and they can actually reclaim this by coming home to themselves,
Mm-hmm.
it creates massive ripple effects in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, like, when women come to you and they're working with you,
Mm-hmm.
what do you see around this concept? What do you see happens for them when they start to reclaim this power?
Yeah. I honestly like them making the choice to no longer live with the dysfunction is the first step, but they have to continue to consciously choose themselves in that program. The first yes is probably the easiest yes, but it's actually like the yes again over and showing up for yourself in the exercises through the education, really embodying the whole process. I think for what we see is the physical radiates into the confidence, the feeling of the increased energy levels, the increased happiness, increased quality of life, the not as triggered with their partner or their children because they're more at ease. You know, when people rid the dysfunction in their body, they didn't realize how much it actually was weighing all the other buckets of their life down until they remove that, right? So when women like, you know, remove the pain with intimacy, now they're like, this is awesome. This is what intimacy can feel like. And then they're like so in pleasure and happy with their partner and like it's all an overflow too. And then that makes them more confident in how they, you know, feel in their body and how they show up for their kids. And so I just feel like it ripples effects into every other thing. And not to mention if they are doing this before having kids or in between kids, just generationally that impact too has now been ridden for that future child too. So I'm like a huge fan of women before they become pregnant to really do the work and to really step into that feminine power and that inner power because they essentially clean the slate, you know, more, right, for those children because we do pass that genetic material or that generational pass down. So I find that women really come alive. They really are able to start feeling a little bit more free. Lots of things like increasing quality of life, better relationship with my partner, my kids, inspired action with their kids, now modeling their healthy actions as well. It's just been such a powerful thing for them to feel like a leader again and to be a creator and to trust themselves on that decision. And then it helps reaffirm that initial yes that they made, right? So oftentimes it's hard when people want to say yes, but they don't. And I see the future. I see the vision for them. If they do take a chance on themselves and go through the process, we see what our women and our moms are able to achieve, and we see the transformation. And so once they've made it through, if you will, they can come back and be like, wow, so that's what it's like when I choose myself and I say yes and I make a change. So it just like empowers them further to make those changes for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love the way that you're doing this through like the physical pelvic floor work.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read the book Pussy by Mama Gina?
No, but I've heard someone else told me to read that too. I haven't read it
Oh my
yet.
goodness.
Is it
Highly
good?
recommend. It's so
Okay.
good. And I
Write
feel
it
like it
down.
just beautifully branches so much of the work that we're talking about here,
Yeah.
right? Like, because there's so much power that a woman holds, like in her womb, in her pussy. And when she can connect with that, she gets to connect with that power within her, right? That life force energy, as she connects with her worth and her confidence and like can actually fully express herself. I feel like it just would be super up your alley. I feel like your clients would
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm gonna bring it in.
Yeah. But I say that like because I'm curious if there are any like activities or exercises that you give your clients that maybe like something that you have on the top of your mind that can help women reconnect with their pelvic floors, that can help them reconnect with their roots.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's different for every single person, dependent on like what they're specifically struggling with, but also like maybe what we feel like is the deeper root cause of that for them initially. We always start with breath work, and breath work just to like
Mm-hmm.
feel their pelvic floor move, feel how their diaphragm, the breath, the force of life like is connected directly to the pelvic floor. So as the diaphragm descends, the pelvic floor lengthens. And so it's really just getting that strong mind body connection to know that their pelvic floor is literally connected to their diaphragm and they work in synchrony together. And so we really start with breath work as like the initial starting phases of finding that deep connection. But then, like, to go a little bit further is, when we're working with our clients that have difficulty with like pain with intimacy or inability to achieve an orgasm or have a lot of shame around that, we will give them like books to read, and we will also give them like self-exploration exercises because there's so much shame and discomfort around that type of topic. And I think it also can be really freeing for like a woman in this safe space to also say like, hey, this can help you really reconnect to this part of your area or your body that you feel really disconnected to and you feel really a lot of like dysfunction with. So really connecting in that pleasure way too can also really benefit a lot of our clients. And we'll give exercises and prompts, whether it's for them or for them and their partners to do as well.
I love that. It is
Yeah.
insane how much disconnection women have
Mhm.
formed and created between their wombs and their pussies, really.
Mhm.
It's like we put these walls up and we've completely disconnected, so many of us,
Mhm.
from the place that is the center of our creative abilities,
Mhm.
the center
Yeah.
of our most sensitive area of our body,
Mhm.
like our source of pleasure,
Mhm.
right? Like the
Yeah.
clitoris has what, 8,000 nerve endings?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
women just don't connect
Mhm.
there. They don't
Mhm.
honor, they don't respect, they don't
Yeah.
tune in. It's funny, me and my I'll eliminate the story and get to the point. Me and my roommate are really big in this home. My home is a women's empowerment home, and we hold workshops, we hold
Love
gatherings,
it. That's so cool.
because we recognize like the power that women hold, and
Mhm.
we're very open about the fact that like this is a pussy powerful home, and because when a woman reconnects to that center of herself, she can literally expand her pleasure in every aspect of her life.
Mhm.
And so I love how you're talking about like the first thing that you do is bringing breath,
Mhm.
because through breath we build awareness. Through
Mhm.
breath we build
Yep.
oxygenation, right? Through breath we build connection. And
Mhm. Yeah, and not to mention like the ripple effect of that physically, right? Like there could just be lack of oxygen, lack of lengthening at the pelvic floor that's causing all this chaos. And it seems so simple, but as we breathe into the pelvic floor and as we allow that release to happen, the nutrients are flushing down there and we're hydrating. And the pelvic floor is also a sump pump for the body, right? So we have sump pumps in various parts of our body to get blood out of the bottom part of our body up back to the heart to recirculate. And so I think there's a lot of disconnect too. If we're not connected to that sump pump in a way that could be really powerful, it can also just create congestion. And that's where pelvic floor congestion syndrome comes into, right? So there's just like all these little synchronicities and connections that really connecting deeper to like the pelvic floor, lengthening, releasing, is more important than often than strengthening at times, right? The strengthening will come, but really it's connecting to the release and the lengthening first.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Slow
I
down,
know. Slow down,
expand.
expand,
There's
lengthen,
the
release.
yeah, I was gonna say there's an amazing meditation that I love. It's just like it's really helpful for dropping into your feminine, for relaxing, kind of sitting back and receiving.
Mm,
And one of the things that she says in the meditation is lengthen the space between your moments. And
mm,
there's something about that every time she says it, I'm like, oh, like it sends this like electric shock through my body. It's like, yeah, like this process of lengthening is
mm.
what allows us to more deeply experience, to be more present.
Yeah.
And you can apply that to muscles, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If you're not able to completely lengthen a muscle, you're not going to have as much strength and power in the muscle as you could.
Yeah.
And so bringing
Yeah.
that into more of that like energetic component here, where it's like, if you're not allowing yourself to lengthen, right, to open, and you cannot find that power within you.
Yeah, you can't receive, right? So it's like, yeah, unless you're open, you can't receive. And that goes, along the lines of, getting out of that victim mindset too, and taking that radical responsibility in your conscious choice, and not wanting other people to fix you, but really just saying, I'm open to receiving my own inner wisdom and intuition. And okay, I have like 3 more minutes, but I'm just like, this conversation is so good. I could probably talk to you for another 2 hours.
I think we should podcast, is what I think
We
should
should. I know. I'm launching a podcast actually in September, so I'll have to have you on for sure.
Fun.
Yeah.
We'll have to chat. I'd love to have you on the podcast, on my
Yeah,
podcast.
totally. I would love that. Oh yeah. What's your podcast name?
Super fun. It's called the Mindful Evolution Podcast.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, let's do that. Let's podcast,
Super
because we
fun.
could talk for a long time.
Very good. Well, before we close up, I'd love, if anybody, like, tell me what you have going on in your world. Like, if anyone's like, oh, interested in like what either one of us have to offer, I'd love to just like share what we've got going on.
Yeah, totally. So in our world, right, like in terms of like how we serve people, right?
Yeah, business, how you
Yeah,
can help
yeah.
people, if someone's interested in working with you.
Yeah, definitely. So if any mamas are really dealing with, if they're pregnant, postpartum, or beyond, really postpartum is forever. But if you're dealing with some sort of pelvic floor related issue, leakage, intimacy, pelvic organ prolapse, diastasis, or maybe you want to prevent those and you're going into pregnancy and you want to remain strong and stable in pregnancy without the aches and pains and all the pelvic floor issues, what we do is we work with moms 100% virtually from the comfort of their home. No random fingers up in your business. You can do all this stuff at home. But really allowing that body to heal and the pelvic floor to heal, so that we can not only tackle the pelvic floor and core related issues, but also set you up for strength training longer term, so that you can maintain those results for life. That's what we do. Yeah.
Amazing.
And you can just DM me like, hey, I heard you and I'd love more information. Or if you really want to hit our keyword, then you can say restore, but that just means like you want more information about working with us.
Amazing. Yeah, definitely check
What
out
about you?
Jessica's work.
Tell me more.
For me right now, I have 2 primary offers that I have going on. So in August, I have a women's group program starting called the Empowered Goddess. And I'm super excited. It's to help women really step into their power, step into their worth, step into their confidence, use their voice, set their boundaries, and come home to themselves, so that they can start to honor that goddess within them and create the life that they desire, that fills them up, that brings them pleasure. And I always work one-on-one with clients as well. If clients are like, I want to go deeper and I want a little bit more of a personalized approach, I work one-on-one with women to really help them step into this power and heal from the past, so that they can create the life that they desire moving forward.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's so powerful too. We'll definitely send some people your way already that I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Jessica, it's been awesome diving into this conversation with you. And yeah, excited to continue connecting with you more, and would love to chat more about like what kind of collaborations we could continue doing and what magic we could create for women together.
I'm down. Let's keep chatting.
Amazing. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Have an awesome rest of your day. Bye, love.
Bye.